Welcome to the Rapid Research Podcast, where two friends answer the big questions after searching the internet for 30 minutes. Hey, welcome into the show today. Rapid Research Episode 3.
Episode 3.
We got a lot going on today. Welcome into the show. Make sure to take a look at us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all those. We'd love to get your support, get a 5-star review there, help us spread the show around. And if you can, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a loved one about the show and say, hey, you should listen to Rapid Research.
You should indeed. Tyler, today we are going to be talking about pirates.
Yes, I found out about this about 30 seconds ago, and I'm pretty excited. I like pirates.
I do too. I'm really excited, dude.
I think pirates are one of those cultural phenomenons where we all kind of wish we were, sailing the seven seas and just being victorious.
What is the modern day equivalent, do you think?
Well, there was an issue with pirates a couple years ago. Remember with Captain Phillips?
Yeah.
Tom Hanks?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie.
Somali pirates.
I know the one line.
I think it's on Amazon.
That's it.
Are you not entertained?
That's
not pirates?
That's Gladiator, dude.
Okay.
What is the line though? It's
I have no idea.
I am the captain now.
I am the captain.
That's the only thing I know from Captain Phillips.
Yeah. So with pirates, you think of peg legs, eye patches, the Jolly Roger, Redbeard. What what do you think of?
Do you know that Redbeard actually used to be Blackbeard?
Okay, that makes sense.
He got marooned.
Okay, that was not good. Treasure chest, parlay. Obviously Pirates of the Caribbean, massive cultural phenomenon. Like it is peak cinema. Even though some people don't like some of the movies, it is a phenomenal trilogy. And then you added the fourth and the fifth, which were okay at worst.
Yeah, I would say that number 4. I actually did not hate the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
I liked all of them.
Yeah, the fifth one I thought was hot garbage.
Really?
I hated the fifth one. Hated it, bro. I thought that it was dumb. I thought that there was no...
I thought it was pretty incredible.
Redemption arc to Jack Sparrow.
Didn't need to be.
Well, the whole point of the first 3 movies is a redemption arc of Jack Sparrow and showing that he's a good person and actually a decent person.
Okay.
And then by movie 4, you're like, okay, he's still kind of a decent person. In movie 5, you're like, never mind, he has absolutely nothing going for him now. I thought it was terrible.
All right. In relation to this topic, though, I do have a hot take.
Hot take heaven.
And that is that I think in what we are going to find in our research is that our idea of pirates is pretty grand and glorious. And in reality, historical pirates were kind of lame. That's my hot take.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think we're going to find some really cool things about pirates. Because honestly, you also had privateers, right? Who were basically legalized pirates at the time. So you had Francis Drake, who was amazing. Francis Drake was one of the coolest people ever to exist.
To be clear, we are limiting this to actual pirates, not Vikings. Vikings is a totally different category.
How did you get from pirates to Vikings?
Because they pillage. And they have boats.
That's fair.
Okay.
So we're talking about
specifically the Seven Seas.
Yeah.
Blackbeard, the Caribbean, because that's historically where pirates have been. Though there's, African pirates around the Horn of Africa, stuff like that is fine. But when we're saying pirates, we're thinking specifically the Americas, the 1700s, 1800s, stuff like that. So that's where we'll go. My hot take is that it's glorified because of Pirates of the Caribbean and other films, and in reality, it wasn't all that cool.
Well, I'm going to guess that it's going to be... It certainly is glorified. It's like any other topic, right? We glorify a lot of things that to other people would just be a day-to-day job.
I'm going to be looking specifically for someone who actually had a parrot on his shoulder just on a consistent
That might
basis.
be glorified.
Like, was there actually somebody
There
who
has to be a dude with a parrot.
he just
somewhere.
had a parrot? Like, because that's classic.
Well, it's classic. I almost wonder how much of our modern day view of pirates not only comes from the movies Pirates,
But comes from parrots.
I was gonna say comes from the ride Pirates of the Caribbean from the 1950s.
That could be, I guess.
Because I mean, I don't know.
I've never been on it.
I
So
have.
my view does not come from that ride.
Yeah.
Mine comes from the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, which is based on the ride.
That's true.
So all that to say, I'm looking forward to some parrots, and also I do believe that it will be a little bit romanticized by our culture rather than what actually happened in the 1800s.
Okay, good hot take. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's jump in.
All right, we are back. I learned a lot about pirates.
I did as well.
There's so much information, but I think like genuinely there is a lot that is romanticized about pirates.
Yeah, I think your hot take was like 98% correct.
Yep. I would agree with that. One of the things that I saw was that everything from eye patches to peg legs to parrots on the shoulder, even to some degree buried treasure, was from Treasure Island. The
Yes. There was a guy by the name of Olivier Levasseur, I think,
Okay.
who was caught. He was a very infamous pirate who had probably over $1 billion in gold at one point, and he had a cipher that showed supposedly where his buried treasure was.
Okay.
And when he was being executed, he threw the cipher into the crowd and said, "Whoever figures it out gets to keep my treasure."
That's kind of fun.
So I feel like it's a fun way to die.
What a
like,
fun way to go
If
out.
you're gonna go out, you might as well go out knowing.
like,
that
let's make this interesting
Yeah.
for everybody.
nobody's ever figured out the cipher.
Okay. Wow. So it's not as fun.
Not as fun.
As far as the time frame of piracy, I found it kind of interesting. It was only about 80 years. It was from 1650 to 1730-ish. 1720 is really when they started cracking down because, I mean, the idea here was with the New World, because there was no established law on the seas, it was kind of a free-for-all for everybody.
Right.
And then England and Spain and Portugal and different countries over there, they had so many ships going back and forth, merchant ships and stuff. There was a lot of wealth in the New World. And so they had to make sure that those got protected. So by the 1720s, they really started cracking down on piracy. It was a big issue. And so they basically annihilated piracy in the modern world.
Right. I would say that the privateer side of it was a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, and I didn't really have a concept too much of what privateers really were, but just basically government-sanctioned pirates.
Yeah.
To attack other nations.
Which is an insane idea.
Like, hey, you want to be a mercenary
Yeah.
out on the seas?
Right, seriously, because that would be... I mean, do we do that now?
No. I mean, we have mercenaries that we can hire, but we don't make a big deal about it. You know,
Yeah, like
we're not really loud about it.
There is a private sector of
Oh, yeah.
black ops, but we don't
Absolutely.
talk about it.
No.
So I don't know if... I think they talked about it a lot in these eras.
They must have. It was probably one of those things, just like slavery, that was at that point in their minds a necessary evil. Of like, it's already established in society, and so we're gonna run it.
Right, because you had like the Francis Drakes and Henry Morgans
Sure.
and whatnot. We're going to get to Henry Morgan in a second. In fact, let's just do it now.
Okay.
So, Henry Morgan, if you had to guess what he is remembered
Yeah,
for
my
now-
guess is rum.
Yes.
Okay.
Captain Morgan Rum is where he is remembered now. I'm sure he would love that.
Probably.
He was born in 1635. He was Welsh. And by the 60s, he was joining English privateers, which again at this point was completely legal. So he goes on to sack a bunch of cities. He's not attacking ships. He's sacking Spanish cities.
Like the entire just region of just pull up and
just pull up. Yes. Well, sort of. Like, okay, so he sacked Portobello. He sacked Maracaibo, Venezuela. Venezuela. I can't talk. And then he actually...
Do you know where that is?
Venezuela?
Yeah.
South America.
Good.
Thank you. And then his most famous raid was actually on Panama. And
okay, as in where the canal is.
Correct. Yeah, it wasn't there yet, I don't think.
Yeah, that would have been Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
So that would be the 1800s.
Yeah, that would have been way later. So Panama, he didn't just pull up with a ship, right? He didn't just like pull up, find a parking space, and
he didn't just
run
weigh
it.
anchor.
No.
Wait, no, that's taking up the anchor. What would be the opposite of taking up the anchor?
Dropping anchor, I think.
That's all?
I think it's drop anchor.
That's kind of lame.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, what he did instead was he went to the far side of the jungle that Panama is next to.
Okay.
And they just trekked through the jungle and like surrounded Panama and then just came in that way instead of like, because like when you think of how a pirate ship would, sack a city, you would think of them like pulling up, coming in parallel to the city and just launching cannonballs. But instead they did it all on foot.
Why didn't they just launch cannonballs?
I don't know. I think it just worked.
Okay.
I thought it'd be cool.
Fine.
But they had to trek through the jungle, so they were all exhausted by the time they got there.
Were they successful?
They were very successful.
Like they mass destruction.
They absolutely sacked and destroyed Panama City.
Ooh.
So it was so full of gold that, quote, even poor citizens had treasure. And
they're just sitting on it over
yeah,
there.
it's just gold everywhere. So
are you sure that's not romanticized? Like,
I
is
don't
that
know.
actually true?
I don't know. That's just what that's what I found in 30 minutes. During the
crazy.
chaos, the city caught fire and burned to the ground. So much of even the treasure that they may have had was destroyed.
Yeah.
There is an unfortunate part of this. Now, privateering was legal, as we have said. Unfortunately, this attack on Panama happened after England and Spain had just signed a treaty.
No. Wait, so he let me get this straight. So this guy, he works for Britain.
Yep.
And he takes his fleet and they go and they destroy Panama. But because of communication just not being it was after they had signed a peace treaty.
That's what I'm gathering, yeah.
So did they kind of just sweep it under the rug?
No. So this was now considered an illegal act of war.
Well, yeah, it's a war crime.
Right. So
But he didn't know.
So they had no choice. So England actually brings Morgan back and arrests him in order to avoid rekindling war with Spain. But instead of punishing them, they treated him as a hero.
Oh, so they did sweep it under the rug. So they said
they knighted him.
Hey, Spain, we're bringing justice. We're bringing the hammer of justice down on this guy. Don't worry about it. You're actually a knight.
Yeah. They knighted him. And dude, they stopped trying to hide it. They sent him back to Jamaica as a lieutenant governor.
Oh my goodness.
So he
hey, you're really bad, but you want a city while we're here?
Yeah,
We've got a couple that need leadership, and you look like a man who could lead.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And he actually goes back and he actually helps England suppress piracy for his tenure
That's
as governor.
really funny.
So
That's
he was pretty cool. He was not a lot of times we think of like, oh well, you were a privateer, so you were just a soldier. He was ruthless.
Yeah.
Like he was not just like this soldier who had great morals and everything. Like no, he was torturing people to figure out where the treasure was all the time. So,
yeah, I found a lot that basically a consensus among historians that this was a brutal time of history. I did find that pirate havens, like in Pirates of the Caribbean, Tortuga, everybody goes to Tortuga. Like it was actually a real place. so Tortuga, Nassau were pirate havens where people could go and where pirates could go and, be safe-ish from like Britain, but they weren't safe from each other, so it was like where the law governs no man.
Right.
Free trade, open trade, and everything bad that comes along with no law. Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Everything. So it was not, not a great place, but
I will say, I think in some ways, yes, it was super ruthless. In some ways also, a lot of the altercations, say between ships, did not end with gunfire. 'Cause like
interesting.
Yeah, so pirates would come. So usually, like they would run up the pirate flag as they got closer, right? And then basically the pirate flag was surrender or we're gonna kill you. It wasn't run up the black flag and now we're gonna start unleashing our cannonballs.
Oh, so they wanted. Obviously, like, best case scenario is we get a new ship out of this.
I mean, it's like a 18th century carjacking, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody pulls up with a gun and says, "Give me your car, or I'm going to shoot you."
Yeah,
you usually give them the car, right? Right.
But in this case, a whole ship,
right? And so, if the captain of let's say it's a British Navy ship, right? Mm-hmm. The British sailors are not getting paid enough that it's worth it, which is why pirating was so intriguing to these guys, because they would make way more money doing an even split among a crew than getting minimum wage with their navy,
right?
And so if a pirate pulls up and is like, "Give me your stuff, or we're gonna kill you," especially if it's Blackbeard, who has a reputation,
who had a black beard.
He did. Apparently, he would also put like flares. I
read it was.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it was like the things that they used the fuses, like for cannonballs and stuff. And bombs.
Yeah.
Like that's what he would tie it in there and then light it on fire so that it burned for a little while.
Yeah,
and, made all the sparklies,
which is insane.
It's kind of wild. Like, it seems like a health, potential health concern.
I don't think he cared.
No, I don't think he did either.
But anyway, so if the captain of the Navy ship was like, "Yeah, we're gonna fight," a lot of times the sailors would be like, "No, we're not," and just mutiny.
Have our oranges.
Yeah, that would be the whole vibe. So I think it's romanticized in some ways of like that it was super brutal, but there was also just kind of this understanding of the British Navy ships of like, this ain't worth it, and they just handed their stuff.
Sure, until they started cracking down in 1720.
Correct. Though there were some post 1720 that were really famous, and we're gonna get to that.
Yeah. Was it 17? Yeah, it was 1720. 1730 was kind of like the end of the golden age of piracy. Mm-hmm. But I found, I was kind of curious about, okay, how many people can fit on these ships? How big are the crews? And that sort of stuff. And so I found out that, like, in the Caribbean and Europe, there was generally about 1,000 to 2,000 pirates at a time. And that number for sure shifted up and down. But it was not a massive operation. Like, there was a lot of money being stolen and stuff like that, but it wasn't a massive operation. It wasn't like an entire army. And generally speaking, they would have like 50 to 200 crew members on each ship, except for Blackbeard's ship, which had like 300, because it was just a massive ship, which was called
the Queen Anne's Revenge.
Yes, such a cool name.
That is a really cool name.
Just
this man knew his marketing, man.
Like, Blackbeard marketing,
like the PR guy for Blackbeard,
phenomenal.
He's
like, actually, you kind of want to make a big show about it, okay?
Blackbeard was actually an introvert, who just didn't.
He just had a really great PR guy. He said, "So what I think we need more fear in the market, okay? I think the space is ready for it. Let's kind of lean into that."
He's got like his sword over a guy, and he's like, "No. Lean in a little bit more. A little bit more.
All right, let's get a good picture.
All right,
of this.
there we go. Okay.
Are you painting this? Are you paint
Jeffrey,
that.
sketch.
Jeffrey. But
Okay.
yes, Blackbeard, he had such a good marketing team. Like,
Yeah.
they knew how to put him in a good light or a bad
Bad
light,
light.
rather than, a black light.
I hated that. Okay. So everything that you just said about sizes and everything
Yeah.
is like 98% true. I found an exception to this.
Okay, what is
Okay.
it?
And this is also the exception in that this happened in the early 1800s. Okay. So let me introduce you to Qing Shi.
Qing Shi.
Okay.
From China?
From China. So
Makes sense.
Qing Shi was married to a pirate captain. Okay. His name was Zhang Yi.
Zhang Yi and Xing Qi.
Correct.
Okay.
So she had a pretty rough opening to life.
As many pirates do.
Many do. It is said that Zhang Yi married her because she was very highly intelligent and very politically savvy. So
Savvy.
yes,
Savvy is a pirate word.
it is a pirate word.
Yeah.
Well, according to
Jack Sparrow. Savvy.
yeah, and probably Robert Louis Stevenson.
Savvy.
Yeah. Please never do that again. So Zhang Yi led what was called the Red Flag Fleet.
Ooh.
Okay, which is pretty cool.
Spicy name.
It's very cool. So they got married in 1801. In 1807, Zhang Yi dies
Unfortunately.
in a storm at sea. Now, most people would have expected Qing Shi to step aside from leadership, but
But she
actually,
didn't.
She and her adoptive son actually took over the Red Flag Fleet.
How big was the Red Flag Fleet?
Well, okay. At first, I'm not sure how big it was.
Okay.
But she actually chose to start unifying the pirate groups that had been fighting against each other. So there's interfighting in the pirate world. Okay?
Sure, it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, if I said there's a red flag fleet and a ton of pirates and ships are part of this fleet, what would be your gut instinct of how big this was?
40.
40 and how many pirates?
1,200.
What if I told you you're so off?
Okay.
Give me a bet. Give me something higher.
120 ships.
There were over 1,800 ships.
Ships?
Ships
1,800 ships?
in the Red Flag Fleet,
What?
which now had over 80,000 pirates.
You're
I
kidding.
know.
80,000. That's an
80,000.
army.
At the height of her power, she has 1,800 ships and 80,000
And this is
pirates.
illegal.
This is not privateering. It said that the
So
Chinese
this is
government.
illegal.
Yes, the Chinese government, the Qing Dynasty,
Yeah?
is trying to shut her down. The Portuguese Navy.
How
is
do
trying
you
to
shut
her
down 1,800
I-
ships?
That was the problem. Because what they would do, they kept sending.
What kind of a government allows that to happen?
I know. They kept sending ships to try and defeat her, right? Like, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And she kept just capturing their ships and forcing their soldiers to become pirates.
She's really smart.
She's really smart. So it's Britain, Portugal, and China are all trying. At this point, she's so powerful. She's basically loan sharking the villages on the coast, where she's saying,
okay.
pay me for protection.
I can protect you.
so insane.
Your government
Okay.
cannot.
This is my favorite part of this.
Okay.
Okay. So she takes over in 1807.
Okay.
Okay. By 1810, this is only 3 years, by the way.
3 years.
3 years, she has amassed a massive armada, navy, whatever you want to call it. And the Chinese government was so desperate to get rid of her that they offered her a deal. And they said, and by the way, she negotiated her own surrender under her own terms with the Chinese government.
Why?
Here was the deal, okay? She kept all of her loot, all of her riches, okay? She and every single pirate was granted amnesty.
Yeah.
Many of her pirates were allowed to join the Qing Dynasty Navy.
Makes sense.
And she retired as a wealthy noblewoman.
No way. What a way to go.
She goes
huh?
out and later ran a successful gambling and smuggling business.
She couldn't get enough. She's like, I need more.
So
The coffers are not
she's
full.
like the one of, if not the only pirate
She was addicted to it.
to retire wealthy and undefeated, because most of them got killed.
Well, in the Americas and Europe, the British, Spanish, French basically started offering amnesty for pirates who would turn themselves in. Eventually, like for a while, yes, it was you catch a pirate, you kill it. Him, her.
Right.
But eventually it got to the point where they're like, piracy is such a bad issue. And like you were saying, there are a lot of these ships that are just being taken over and they feel like they can't get out. You know, they're not actually pirates at heart. They were just merchants.
Right.
But now they're part of the fleet because they got taken over by the pirate warlord. And so it's like, turn yourself in, stop doing bad, and we'll forgive you, but we need to stop piracy. So basically, by those ships turning themselves in, then it left the ships that would not, like Blackbeard, like Black Bart, you know, those guys who wouldn't turn themselves in. It gave them less of an army to fight with, and so then they could actually take them down.
And probably isolates them more, so they
Yes.
know who to fight.
Exactly. Okay, so I found several really cool stories.
Okay.
So Jack Sparrow, obviously the dumbest and worst pirate of all time.
But you have heard of him.
Yes, but you have. And so I was like, I wonder if there's actually any stories kind of like that. And there is.
Oh, no.
There was this dude. His name was Stede Bonnet. Stede Bonnet. He was called the Gentleman's Pirate. And he was a wealthy plantation owner who got sick of it and said, well, actually, okay, there was a little bit more of a story there. But he was a plantation owner. His marriage fell apart, and he's like, that's it. I'm hitting the seas. And he had no experience on the seas. He knew nothing about it. He was just rich. And so he coerced a bunch of guys to become his shipmates and to run this ship for him.
This is like the modern day equivalent of being like, I'm done with it. Get me a Boeing.
Yeah. So he's like, all right, let's go. Pirating, here we come. He had no sea experience. He had never been on the seas before.
Okay.
And
Sounds like a great plan so far.
well, yeah, so like his people on the ship really did not like him. Like they were just here for the money. Or they were like forced into it, like thrown onto the ship, and now that you're in the middle of the sea, you can't get off. So anyway, this guy, but no, it gets better. This guy is a businessman. He knows who to align himself with. He gets in with Blackbeard. They form a friendship as much as you can with another pirate king. And they sack Charleston, South Carolina. So they bring their entire armada to Charleston, South Carolina in 1718. It's called the Raid on Charleston.
Okay.
So basically, Blackbeard sets up a blockade for about a week. And Stede shows up as well. And they start taking people hostage. They start capturing their ships that are in the dock, because it was a big port city. And somehow, through luck, just sheer luck, this guy is a successful pirate.
Task failed successfully.
Yes, seriously. Now, in the end of it, Blackbeard gets off pretty much scotch-free from the blockade of Charleston. But right at the end, Stede gets arrested.
Oh, no.
And he gets hanged.
Unfortunate.
And he's dead.
Okay.
So it was looking pretty good for him for a while. He was doing a successful raid, and then eventually he did get taken down.
That's so unfortunate.
It was, because it would have been kind of an incredible, like, had he gone off scotch-free, it was just like the oddest pirate ever. But yeah, no
The honest,
no
not
experience.
the worst, the most horrific of people that ever pirated.
No, he just seemed like he was kind of just on his own mission, like, oh, this is kind of cool. We can go, like, just take stuff from people. That's kind of neat. Because he didn't need it. He was a rich plantation owner. Like, Why in the world do we need to go pirate?
This was the worst midlife crisis of all time.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
It's like, man, I've always thought that I could be really good at pirating.
Oh my word! And then we've already talked about Blackbeard a good amount. The blockade of Charleston was probably the biggest siege that he ever did. You know, it was the biggest, the biggest thing. His death, in 1718, it was in a battle with the British Navy. He was shot several times, and he was stabbed about 20 times before he died.
This man is the Boromir of the high seas.
Seriously, the Boromir. And he was decapitated.
Oh, just to make sure?
Yeah, well, his head was put on a stick because, at that point, it was like a big deal.
The guy...
Blackbeard's dead. The Wicked Witch.
That ship that took him down deserves to have Blackbeard's head in a stick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Makes sense.
You got anything else?
No, I think I'm ready to head in.
I got one more. We didn't talk about Black Bart much. His name is Bartholomew Black Bart Roberts.
Okay.
Outside of the Chinese fleet that we were just talking about, he was the most successful pirate in the Caribbean. He was known for capturing over 400 ships, and he was eventually taken down by the British, but he had 400 ships that he took over the span of several years, which is very impressive. 400 ships, just him, and him and his small fleet. So yeah, pretty cool. Also illegal. Yeah, we're not saying any of these things are good, but it's kind of cool. It's like we all kind of like it. It's not really good.
I mean, we've all pirated a movie somewhere in our lives.
That is true. That's true. All right. We've got a new segment coming up here today. It's called Crude Up.
Crude up, crude up, crude up, crude up.
Crude Up. All right, in Crude Up, we are putting together a pirate crew. We've got 5 positions. We've got captain, first mate, sailor, and cook. That's 4. I can't count. We have 4 positions: captain, first mate, sailor, and cook. Joel and I have both put these together. We'll go one by one through our crews, and then you guys vote on which crew is the better and probably which one's going to be the most successful out on the seas. We'll have little tidbits about each of them. All right, Joel, you want to start us off? Who's your captain?
My captain is Captain Reginald, quote, Thornhart McClaw.
Okay. Thornhart McClaw.
Who is said to have once taken a cannonball to the chest and still won the battle while finishing his drink.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like him. I like Thornhart.
All right. I thought long and hard about who I wanted to represent my fleet. Because it's not just going to be a ship. It'll be a crew, but it's going to become a fleet. So what's the name?
The Red Fleet.
Yeah, well, or the blue, green, whatever. But who do I want actually to oversee it all? I want none other than Blackheart Calhoun. Blackheart Calhoun. You heard that right. Yeah.
That is a great name.
He's known in Haiti as the preacher. He grew up Pentecostal. So he's got quite the background. So you could call it Blackheart the Preacher Calhoun, but that's only in Haiti.
Does he still have both his hands to raise?
He does. He's got both of them. Okay. He's a big fan of snakes.
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool. All right. Go right into your first mate.
All right, first mate. I wanted a first mate that would inspire confidence within the crew, because it's not just the culture of the captain. It is very much still the culture of the first mate, because he's out there influencing the rest of the crew. So underneath Blackheart Calhoun, I've got Balthazar Silverback Shaw.
Balthazar Silverback Shaw.
Yeah.
That's a lot of SHs and THs.
Balthazar Silverback Shaw. Yeah. At one point, he claimed that he could take on a gorilla.
Okay.
He did take it on. He lost.
Okay.
But he survived it.
Okay.
And so he can tell about it that I took on a gorilla.
Yeah.
Balthazar Silverback Shaw.
Okay.
Who do you got?
My first mate is Sly Penny Stevenson.
Sly Penny Stevenson. Real
So-
swindler?
Yes. So to me, I don't want my first mate to just be a aye Captain Muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
You kind of want him to be his own guy.
Right. And so Penny is a very quiet soul, but she.
Oh, it's a girl.
No, I named a guy Penny.
Okay. Wait, read the whole name.
Sly Penny Stevenson.
Right,
So
Penny
Sly
is a middle name.
Right. No, Sly is the nickname.
Okay.
Sly.
Well, I was very confused. for a
Okay.
second. Sly. Why not Penny Sly Steven? Wait, who?
Sly Penny Stevenson. You're saying Penny Sly Stevenson?
Yeah.
So her nickname is Sly, but they call her Sly Penny.
Oh, Sly Penny.
Sly Penny.
Okay,
yeah.
no, I'm tracking.
Okay, we're getting
I'm
there?
Tracking,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So she's the type of person who everybody knows who Thornheart is.
Okay.
But she's the type of person he can like send ashore to go take care of some tasks.
So he trusts her.
He trusts her very much.
go- yeah.
Nobody else on the shore touches
She's kind of
her.
like the Proverbs 31 woman, who does her business. Like she has a field over there, and she buys a field and plants it. And
Yes.
she's trusted at the
Yes.
gate.
It is said that Sly Penny once went ashore because they hadn't been able to find any ships to take over. So she went offshore and stole the crown jewels by posing as a rare metals inspector.
No way.
Yes.
That's great.
I know. I love Sly Penny.
All right, who's your sailor?
My sailor is Quickfoot Quinn.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So Quickfoot Quinn got his name when he avoided capture by escaping through a quicksand-filled area of the jungle.
Say it again.
He escaped through a quicksand-filled area of the jungle.
Oh, okay, so
And
so he's Quickfoot. Yeah, I'm not
Quickfoot.
getting stuck.
So yeah,
He's like
so
a-
quick. So
Yeah.
they were all getting ready. They were all about the ship, and they're like, Quinn's not making it. And they turn around.
No.
He's just
he's
hucking
booking
it behind them, and they're like, "How'd you get there?" He's like,
Quicksand. I got quick feet.
"Got quick feet." So now he's Quickfoot Quinn.
That's awesome. All right, we're on to sailor and cook. For sailor, I've got Barnaby Old Salt Crawley.
Say that again.
Barnaby Old Salt Crawley.
Old Salt, 2 words.
Old Salt.
Okay.
That's everybody calls him Old Salt or Old Salty. If you're feeling loose. Nobody knows where he's from or how long he's been there.
Okay.
People think he was probably born on the ship. He's kind of, like Davy Jones. He's kind of a part of the ship. Like that's Old
Part of the
Salt.
ship, part of
That's
the crew.
Old Salt Crawley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody really calls him Barnaby. That was it. Like, if he had a mother, that's what she would have called him.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just his name. Everybody calls him Old Salt, Old Salty, or Old Salt Crawley.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's seen a thing or two. So he knows a thing or two.
Yeah. Gotcha.
My cook is Gritty McGraw.
Gritty McGraw.
Gritty McGraw.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
He invented macarons.
Because a name like McGraw is so French.
Yeah, but he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be macarons would be the #1 thing to try and invent on a pirate ship because they take so stinking long
Yeah. And he
that he just had time.
Right, he did. And he came up with some, really good methods of them. These ones were not, a lot of times you see them, they're green or pink or something like that. These ones were not colored because they didn't really have food coloring on the ship. It was more of just, more of a cake, like a yellow cake. And so,
Okay.
it's kind of just one kind. A lot of times they were lemon. But, yeah, he invented macarons. Gritty McGraw.
All right, my cook is Charcoal McGee.
Oh, I like that.
Charcoal McGee, an innovative sort of guy.
Right, kind of like Gritty McGraw.
Yeah, you have to be very innovative. In fact, he once kept the crew from realizing that the only meat they were getting was monkey for 3 months.
Oh, no. How do you keep that a secret?
I don't know. He was so good. He would just take different parts. He would
Monkey brain?
Monkey brain. He would
Gotta have it.
he'd make monkey burgers.
Monkey
Monkey
burgers.
tenders.
Monkey tenders.
Yeah. He was very innovative.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
good guy. And you know what? Any cook that's worth their weight would be innovative. Like, you have to be innovative, especially on a pirate ship. I mean, you're not getting fresh produce all the time.
I mean, like a camp cook has to be innovative. Let
Very.
alone on a pirate ship.
Absolutely. And sometimes you fear those innovations. But all right, I've got my whole crew put together. I've got Captain Blackbeard Calhoun. I've got First Mate Balthazar Silverback Shaw, Sailor Barnaby Old Salt Crawley, and my cook is Gritty McGraw.
All right, I have Captain Reginald Thornhart McClaw, First Mate Sly Penny Stevenson, Sailor Quickfoot Quinn, and Cook Charcoal McGee.
There you go. All right, let us know in the comments who has the better crew that will lead them to success in the 7 Seas. We would really, really much appreciate that.
Question of the day.
All right. My question for you for today, Tyler. You are on a port.
A port.
You've always wanted to go sailing.
Yep.
And you see 2 ships. And the captain of each ship is standing right here. And they both know who each other are, but they aren't going to start a fight right now.
Right. Yeah,
They're going to wait. They're going to save it for the seas.
So we're talking a pirate game. I'm right at the beginning of it.
Right. And you know one of them is Captain Blackbeard.
Yep.
And one of them is Henry Morgan.
Right. Privateer.
Privateer versus actual pirate.
Yeah, so it's going to choose your path.
Yes. Now, Blackbeard comes over to you with the pirate contract.
Yep. You got it.
And the pirate contract is 5 times the amount of money that you would make as a privateer.
Okay. But
it's legal.
Right.
Now, Henry Morgan. Now, at this point, you don't know how this is going to end, right?
Yep,
you don't know that
it's open because I'm going to be on the crew, so we could always change our fate.
Right. So Henry Morgan comes over and tells you, "Look, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be raiding Panama.
Right.
We're going to do this type of thing." Blackbeard's like, "We're literally just going to take any money we see anywhere."
Sure.
Who are you joining?
That's a hard one because you have, one is legal, and so you potentially have less repercussions from it long term.
Probably still making a lot more money than being in like the Royal Navy.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I think, but then making 5 times as much, you can eventually just flee and go set up shop in Argentina.
Yeah.
So like, but I think here's the deal. The fact that a lot of pirates didn't do that they didn't just flee and go set up shop somewhere, it points to the fact that they were addicted to it. They were, they rode the high of
seas.
Yeah, the high seas. And I think I would be there's a possibility that I would get addicted to it as well. I think I would end up going with the privateering realm because I like being on the good side of a country, or I don't want to
history.
I don't want to be on the bad side of law.
And to be fair, these, like we've said, like with Henry Morgan, like these were not necessarily good people.
Right.
Right. But they're remembered fondly because they ended up on the right side of history.
Well, yeah, and depending on the nation that you talk to, it was, that's.
Yeah, I'm guessing the
reason.
Spanish aren't huge fans of
Probably
Henry
not.
Morgan.
They probably like the drink, but probably don't like him. So I would go privateering, and I think the main reason for that is so I could be on the right side of law, and I think I would still have enough money, to be comfortable.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'd go with privateering. I want the retirement plan that goes with not being hunted for the rest of your life.
Okay. All right. You have a specific identifier of you and your crew.
Okay.
What is it, and why?
That's a really
As
good
in,
question.
you could have a special flag. You could have something that you come on shore, everybody knows. Oh, that's Joel's crew with.
That's a really good question.
So
I would say it depends on how ruthless I want to be. Because if I want to be,
well,
honestly,
go ahead. Yeah, go
and
ahead
how
and
much?
decide.
Okay, because to me it would be a tattoo.
Everybody's got a tattoo.
Everybody on my ship ends up with a tattoo.
The same tattoo.
And it depends. If I'm you know what? I think either way. Because
You're a privateer.
I'm a privateer, not a pirate.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, you just said you were from the last question.
Well, that's
Okay,
true. That's true.
So
Okay.
we're privateers.
Okay. I think like a small like neck like tattoo on the side of your neck is the main identifier of my crew and of my identity. Like everybody is going to look at my crew and go,
What is the tattoo?
if I'm a privateer,
An anchor?
if I'm a privateer, it's
A parrot,
going to be
a parrot on the shoulder.
a parrot on the shoulder.
Parrot on the
parrot on the
shoulder.
shoulder. Yes, that's it.
Okay.
A parrot on
I
the
love it.
shoulder with a little gun
Little-
and a little pirate hat.
Oh, that's
That-
great. A tattoo of a parrot on the shoulder.
Yep.
That's really good. I like that.
Genius. I love it. How about you? What's your identifier?
Yeah, we would leave hummus everywhere we go. It would kind of be like a hospitality type thing.
I like that. I
As
like that a
as
lot.
in, hey guys, we care about you, even though we just took all your stuff. Like,
Also, we're Greek.
yeah, we care about you and we approve of the good things in life. So we want to spread this. We want you to know what hummus is. So now I don't think we're gonna get to the point of leaving like the chips to go with it or carrots or
No,
anything.
that's
just the hummus.
Yeah.
Like you spread it on what you want, you dip in it what you want, but we're gonna provide you the base hummus.
At that point, you'd be providing hummus and hardtack.
Yeah. So I think hummus would be the thing. I want people to remember us fondly. Like, okay, it's not all that bad. Like, yeah, they took some stuff, but they were kind of nice about it. They left us hummus. So
Like, we're all broke, but we will survive for a day.
yeah, absolutely.
What we learned today.
All right. What did you learn, Joel?
I learned that privateering was so much different than actual pirating. I thought that was super interesting, and how widespread privateering was very interesting to me.
I learned that the Red Fleet was absolutely massive, and China dug themselves in a hole by even allowing it to come about. Like they were screwed. Like just straight up, they could not control it. It was not great. So yeah, that's what I learned.
Cool. All right, that does it for this week. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.